Good evening, everyone. It's 6:30. I believe we have a quorum. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So it's 6:30. We're going to open up. Please bear with me. I may be having a little difficulty right now. First, let me say thank you to everyone who sent their prayers and their best wishes to me and my family. I really appreciate it. And thank you for the plant that you guys sent on behalf of my father. So with that said, I want to go ahead and get started. I think we need to start with the roll call. So I'll start with Ward 1, Commissioner Young. Commissioner Young, are you there?
I see her on the computer, but I don't see her. She's calling me now. Yeah, let's see. Hold on for a second.
Is she having a problem connecting or something? Because we can just go ahead to the next person. So Ward 2, Commissioner Moon.
I'm here. I just signed in. Are we just?
Yeah, we're just starting roll call. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ward 3, Commissioner Wheatley, present. Ward 4, Commissioner Givens.
Commissioner Givens, present.
Thank you. Commissioner at Large Yuri. I don't see her listed. So we'll mark her as absent for now. She may join later. So we still, have we heard from Commissioner Young?
Yeah, I was just sending you a message. She is calling in by phone, and it was something with the meeting ID, I think that was sent out earlier. It seemed to have a problem than the one that was on the website. So she should be on there momentarily.
Okay, well, we'll just go ahead and get started, and then she can join us whenever she gets on. So first on the agenda tonight is the general government budget. I believe, Ms. Barber, you're going to be discussing that.
Right. So I sent out to you all, and you have on your screen the general government budget, which is the administrative side of the town operations, and also the special events that you all do through the course of the year. Not much has changed on the general government budget. If you had a chance to look at it, pretty much everything was balanced budget or even budget. We didn't increase anything except for office expenses. We did find that we wanted to have a little bit more with office expenses because we seem to be sending out just a little bit more of documentation throughout the year last year. And with COVID, if it continues where we need to send out things, especially or things change with us, the way we send out the mail, because we continue to have issues with mailing the newsletter out, then we wanted to put a little bit extra in office expenses. Scrolling on down to the special events, they are all budgeted at the amounts last year. Nothing was increased, nothing was decreased. So it's up to you all if you want to make any changes there. The only new line item is at the bottom of the page, which is the virtual server monthly fee. As you all know, the server is probably over 5 years here, and the server is what we use to back up our files on here at the town hall. It was recommended to me by the company that we use
What?
for IT that
All
we
right.
think about replacing that. And they gave me a cost to replace that. I'm just apologize. I had it in my file and I can't find it. Here we go. So this would not be using another server like we have physically here at the town hall. It would actually be a virtual server. So it would be storing our information to the cloud. Peak has a private cloud that's a virtual cloud, and it costs $471.50 per month. They have data centers in Riverdale Park, and they also have one in Silver Spring. And that cost you see there, the $56.58, is a year's worth of monthly server fee. There's a one-time fee of $4,500 that you'll see over on the capital side when we get to the capital for general government. And Brittany, I don't know if you can scroll down to see if that's included there at the bottom. No, it's not on there. So when we get over to the capital side, there's a one-time fee of $4,500. And that cost really is just to migrate all the information from the hard server to the virtual server. Some of the benefits is that it's not limited just to the physical hardware. So it's somewhat more safe, because if something were to happen to the building, of course, then there goes your server. If it were to catch on fire, or if there were to be some type of catastrophic event here at the building. The server runs constantly. It has run constantly 24 hours for 5 years. So you have some degradation of the equipment from it running for so long. If there were to be a problem with the server and it needed to be fixed, you would be without your data for several weeks, possibly from days up to weeks, to try and recover the data. So that's just some of the benefits of having the virtual server. If you all want to have more information on it before making a final decision, I definitely can get you some additional print information to look at, or if you wanted to have something from the IT consultant, we can get something for you for that. But at this time, that's what I'm recommending. A lot of jurisdictions are going to the virtual servers just because they're that much easier. We have a problem keeping this server cool. It has to stay cool in the wintertime. So my office has to stay, really kind of cold. And it's really hard to do sometimes in the winter, because you're trying to heat the rest of the building and keep one room cool just for this equipment. So that's also somewhat problematic. So that's general government budget, and I welcome any questions.
Thank you. I can't really see it. I don't know if you can make it bigger or what.
I think he made it a little bit bigger.
Okay. So I know you said that the special events, they pretty much stayed the same.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think are we planning on doing any special events this year?
Well, I don't know if we're going to plan on doing any special events. I mean, you could do some virtual stuff. Some of the jurisdictions, like you and I had talked about for Black History Day, had gotten creative and doing some things. So you could, try and do some creative things online. They won't cost as much. Cottage City Day, that's at the end of the summer. One can be optimistic and say, we hope that we would be able to do something in some form, shape, or fashion with the ones that are later on in the year. But it's just, we just don't know. So it's up to you all if you want to fund them. And then, you're looking at half of them are going to be in 2022. And so we just don't know what 2022 is going to look like after everybody gets their vaccines. It may
Right.
be where things have opened back up in 2022. So, some of the things like Black History Month, Hispanic Heritage Month, Women's History Month, they're early enough in the year that, you may still be able to do them.
You mean do them virtually
No, I'll do them in person in 2022.
in 20? Okay.
But that's up to you all.
Well, I guess we need to hear from the other commissioners. Did Commissioner Young ever get,
Yeah, she's on the call.
she's on the call?
I
Okay.
got, pardon me, I did get in, thanks, I got the right number. Did a constant contact go out to tell townspeople the right phone number?
Now,
Or
I could.
it was
I'll,
the right
I'll have her
meeting
send
ID, I guess it was. I couldn't get in on the phone at first, but
Okay,
I'm
so
in now. I guess
has,
I only had one.
just one second, Commissioner Young. Has Commissioner Yuri joined? Or she's still absent? Doesn't sound like she's on. So we have 4 commissioners. We still have a quorum. Go ahead, Commissioner Young.
I just noticed one thing on the first page. Contractual services accounting went up from 15,000 to 24,000.
Right, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that. And then Mike is on the call. Mike and I talked about his services that he offers to the town. Mike has, he charges us, I think, an hourly rate of $100 an hour. Is that correct, Mike?
That's correct.
And he's had that rate since about, what, 2019?
Correct, yep.
Right. So what he has proposed is actually going to a flat fee that he charges of $2,000 for the town accounting services that he provides. He does this with most of his other clients. Cottage City is one of the very last ones that he hasn't switched over to. When we looked at the billings for contractual services and the value that he brings to the organization, it seemed reasonable to go to the flat fee. The bills average somewhere from over $2,000 to probably the lowest one we saw was maybe $1,600 over the course of a year. And so I did put that in at the $2,000 flat fee rate for you all to discuss, and Mike can answer any questions if you have them.
Okay, thanks. I don't have any questions on that, and I didn't notice anything else. So I'll let you go on to someone else for now, and I'll mute myself.
I'm sorry, I needed to unmute myself. Commissioner Moon?
I guess, I don't think this was said, but just to clarify, like some of the things that we budgeted for activities, which clearly, even if we still do something, are not going to cost nearly as much this year, if we're still doing it virtually. If we don't use the budgeted money, can it roll over to next year or whenever we can?
Right. So events that are coming up, like I guess the Easter egg hunt would be coming up in the spring, Black History Month, Hispanic Heritage Month, the ones that are budgeted for 2021. Yeah, they would, if we don't use the funds, of course, all funds that we don't use go back into the general fund. So it's just hard to say if you were going to do a virtual event, what that cost might be. Would it, it definitely would be less, but the question is, what does the event look like? And if you do something like like Commissioner Wheatley was telling me that one jurisdiction is doing a scavenger hunt for Black History Month and offering a prize. So if that's a monetary prize, then definitely it's not going to take the entire budget, but you would still say, you'd have to know in advance, I guess, what it is you want to do and what that cost might be. This way, it gives you some latitude without, thinking that you might not have enough money.
Right. Okay. I mean, it seems to me like it makes sense to just leave it as is, since it's unpredictable. We don't know. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Commissioner Givens.
Yeah, I guess I'll start with the mic services. Currently, have we been going over budget with the accounting services?
Now, we haven't been going over budget. I think that, if we look at the line item for 5085 with budget versus actual, we're still in good shape for the rest of the fiscal year. But when I looked at an average bill and thinking that the value that we get from Mike, it didn't seem unreasonable to go to what he was asking for.
Well, I could see the need, to have some type of raise there. But what you're talking about is increasing a budget line item that wasn't over budget, that was 15,000, to almost doubling it at 24,000. I mean, that's a significant increase. I'd probably like to look at it a little bit more and see what his proposed new rate could be if we didn't choose, because we're a small town. I mean, the $2,000 works great for a town like Riverdale. Riverdale is huge, right? But we're a one-horse town. We don't have that much. In comparison to if I was in Riverdale Park, it would make a lot of sense. But in a small town like us, the work isn't as significant as the amount of workload that would be instituted at Riverdale Park. So I'd like to look at that a little bit more. And no offense to you, Mike, but I'm about math. The
Right,
math
I
has
understand.
right. And so everybody, I understand. You've been working under a certain amount, and you'd like to see that increased. But I'm not sure if that $2,000 flat rate is beneficial to us as opposed to a town the size of Riverdale Park, which I know that you do a service. So.
Is there some information in particular that we could provide to you, like
Yeah.
a proposed
Yeah.
hourly fee and
Yeah.
some
Right.
other
Right.
information?
And what the current monthly is. I
Okay.
know you said you reviewed it, but being that we're making a decision, I think it's incumbent that we actually review it. You're making a recommendation, and that's fine, but something that's significant, increase, I like to review it.
Okay, we can get that to you.
And in regards to the budget for the amount of events, I think that again, we don't know what the events are going to be, and I mean how this COVID thing is going to play out. And I think it's better to err on the side of caution and keep them where they are, and because we don't want to shortchange an event in the event that we start reducing the cost of that event, and then it winds up not being enough to service it if it actually takes place in person. So, and then there was one other thing about the virtual server, and so I was here when this whole when we were kind of talked about going with a internet vendor, I guess a network vendor to service our network and so on and so forth. And I was under the assumption, because I believe this is what I was told, that the information was being backed. That's not accurate. then, perhaps I misunderstood. So I'll forego that. But I believe that was one of the reasons why it kind of made sense, because I was here when we put the physical server in as well. And this, they talked about when we go to the network, we would actually have an offsite opportunity to back up, because you never know if a fire would happen or some type of natural disaster. So, but if that's, again, if I misunderstood, then I guess I'll have to live with that. So, but with that said, with the information being provided, I think that I would like to look at other vendors. I mean, $4,500 seems like quite a bit of money to, and I know what it takes to back up. And $4,500 is a lot, unless you're specifically going in there from file to file and creating physical labor. And you've all backed up stuff from your phone to your computer. I mean, you know what it takes. I mean, let's be real about it. So I like to look at some other companies in regard to that, outside of the one that they've recommended. And again, I assume that they were already doing that, but again, that may not be the case. And then almost $500 a month. Now we're talking about, another, $6,000 a year to back up the information. So the first year is $11,500, or did I say that right? Something to that effect. I don't know. It's a lot of money. So again, that's another thing that I would like to look at other companies and do some homework, or I would like for you guys to research, the admin to research some other options, because that does seem like quite a bit to me. And I think that was pretty much all I had in regards to what was presented to so far.
Okay, we'll do the research this week and try to have something for you at the meeting next week.
Thank you.
Mike, I see your
Yeah.
hands up, but can Commissioner Wheatley, can I mention one more thing that I noticed just now?
Sure.
So I noticed, and I apologize that it slipped my mind, the emergency relief fund, we did bring that down to $5,000. This year, you all funded $10,000 for the emergency relief fund with the emergency ordinance. And we really have not, we had several people take advantage of the fund when we had the CARES Act funding. But with the funds from the town so far, we've only had one person request funding. And I just question whether or not we want to spend or earmark $10,000 for that fund again next year. I understand it's still COVID and there still will be need, but we're just not seeing that need right now with the emergency relief fund. And quite frankly, when we did it with the CARES Act funding, it was a monumental task really to get people to sign up for it.
Okay.
Commissioner Givens, I got another quick question. What was the senior bus program a part of this budget?
Pardon me?
Is the bus program that we buy into Comer Manor a part of this budget? This line, I mean,
Yes,
is it under
sir.
this review? Okay, have we gone by that yet, or
It's
is it time to
item number 5045,
right.
$5,000.
So have we? Are we allowed to discuss it now, or do you want to wait till we get to there? I'm not sure where we're at, because I'm driving, so I'm listening more so than reading.
That's at the discretion of the chair.
So it is on the agenda for discussion tonight, Commissioner Givens. Did you want to discuss it now, or did you want to wait until we get to it? Commissioner Givens, did you hear me? Did we lose him?
No, he's still there.
Can you hear me?
We can't hear you. Maybe he's in a bad area.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
All right. Okay, well, I just wanted to make sure that we, at some point tonight, address it because that is a part of the budget. So, but go ahead, proceed. You guys can go ahead and proceed.
Okay, thanks. Me personally, I agree with what Commissioner Givens said in regards to the contract with our treasurer and in regards to the virtual server. I think he made some valid points. I would like to have some more information as well. Okay, has Commissioner Yuri joined us yet? No, I don't see her. Okay. All righty. I believe, what was the next thing on the agenda? Was it Black History?
Hazard pay?
The hazard pay?
Commissioner Wheatley, can I make one quick comment?
Sure.
So just a little history. I started back with the town in 2013, and my contract at that point was $18,500. And so during the course of the years, it always kind of came under budget. And then a few years ago, we actually were trying to save some money, so we reduced it from 18,500 down to 15,000. I do think this year it will probably go over budget. So, I've spent since 2013. I did increase my hourly rate from 75 to 100 this last fiscal year. But like Ms. Barber mentioned, all of my clients besides Cottage City are a flat fee. And just for a point of reference, Riverdale Park, so they have 2 full-time staff members. I know the director of finance, which is the equivalent of the treasurer position, he is paid over $100,000, and their other accountant there makes over 60. So you can't really kind of compare, as you know, Commissioner Gibbons had mentioned, Cottage City to Riverdale Park, but their staffing cost is in excess of $160,000 a year. So I think if you look at the level of service, and I realize Cottage City is a small town, but if you compare it to other small municipalities, you will probably not find that you're getting a CPA level experience for anywhere near $24,000 a year. So that's my 2 cents worth. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Moon?
I just wanted to say, I'm sorry, I realized I did not speak up in regard to the request with increase of pay for Mr. Lightfield. And I know that he's worked hard and he's been here for a long time. So I guess we decided that that's going to be up for further discussion. Is that correct?
Yes, we're gonna have Ms. Barber give us some numbers as far as what we actually spent this year on that budget line item.
Okay. I
Yeah.
just wanted to acknowledge, thank you, Mr. Lightfield, for your work.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Yeah, I think we all can agree that an increase is called for, but maybe just not that much. I don't know. We have to see what the numbers look like.
Sure.
And I think that's what Commissioner Givens wanted to find out. And so I think that would be helpful. Okay, if there's no further discussion on the budget, general budget, we can move to the next item. I don't believe Commissioner Yuri has joined us yet. So next is the hazard pay.
Yes, ma'am. So the hazard pay, you all recall that at the height of the pandemic, we decided to start offering hazard pay to the essential staff, police and public works, of the amount of $2 extra per hour. That amount was covered with the CARES Act funding through the middle of December, and then you all decided to continue to pay that money after CARES Act was over. So we've paid that money for about a month and a half now. I had Mike do a calculation of how much more that will cost us as we go until the end of the fiscal year. And that cost will be approximately $12,100 out of the salary line items that we have for police and public works. Public works looks pretty good as far as if we were to continue it in their budget. The police is a little bit more tenuous. We would like to revisit their budget in April and see whether or not it can sustain the additional $2 of hazard pay going forward. But I did just want to put that out there on the horizon for you all to consider that we are still paying that differential of $2 per hour and that it will cost us an extra, it will cost, not an extra, but it will cost $12,100 to take it to the end of the fiscal year.
Commissioner Givens, I like to be heard before everyone speaks so that it gives you guys something to think about. Everyone
ahead.
before they comment.
Go ahead,
Um,
go ahead.
Okay, so I'm not, when the care, I wasn't aware that this was extended beyond the funding that was beyond the funding that was given by the CARES Act. So perhaps that was done while I was that month that I was away. So my apologies for not knowing about that. But what I will say is everyone's back to work now. So they're no longer. So it would be unfair to those who are not considered hazard employees, meaning that everybody's back to work. So if we were still in an environment in which that that only essential staff responded in, then I would consider that. I'm not saying I would go for it, but I would definitely consider that. But at this point in time, everybody's back to work, so I don't think there's any need to continue that unless during this next round of COVID relief from the federal government, they institute some additional funding. And then at that time, I would be more open to instituting that policy. Did you guys hear me?
Yeah, we heard you. Did you want to say anything else, or is that
No,
it?
no, that was it. That was all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Young, you have any comments?
I'll just agree with Demetrius. I think what he says makes sense. So I don't really have anything other than that to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Moon.
I guess I also, I don't know. I'd like more information. I'm not sure, but I think what Demetrius said makes sense. But I'm curious to hear what other people say. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree with Commissioner Givens. I think what he says makes sense. Also, I think, I believe most of our staff have, well, at least I think the police department and public works and code have gotten the first part of the vaccine, which would be a lot of help. So not saying that you can't still get the virus, but I think that helps a lot. And I think it would be unfair to continue to pay them hazardous pay when we have other staff coming in now who are not receiving hazard pay because they're not considered essential employees. So I'm in agreement with Commissioner Givens, but I understand Commissioner Moon if you would like to have a little more time to think about it. Okay, so if there's no other comments, we can go to the next item, which is Black History Month. And Ms. Barber, we kind of touched on that a little bit during the general budget. Did you want to give us any more information? Because I've seen where Brittany has sent out a few emails about different events, virtual events that are going on.
Right. So it just came up as to whether or not we would have a virtual Black History Month event. It came up at the Port Towns meeting last week. I think Edmonston is planning something for the 27th. They didn't say exactly what it was, but they kind of put that placeholder out there for save the date for their event. Bladensburg hadn't indicated if they were doing anything or what date, and neither did Colmar Manor as far as I can remember. So the question was just whether or not the town wanted to try to do anything virtually or do something to honor Black History Month and the theme. I'm not sure exactly what the theme is this year. I've seen a couple of things. One is a Black family, and then another one was just Black history in general. So I'm not really sure what the theme is.
The theme is Black family. That's the national theme.
Okay. So yeah, that's just the question, is whether or not you want to do something. I did talk with Ms. Lewis, And she didn't indicate that she had any ideas for Black History Month this year. And I know she is tasked with doing some other personal things at this time. So I don't know if we would task her to try and do something this year online or not.
Okay, thank you. Are there any comments in regards to Black History Month for the town, doing something virtual?
Oh, Commissioner Gibbons.
Um,
Um,
Go, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, Ann, but you can go right after Demetrius. Go ahead, Commissioner
sure,
Gibbons.
that's fine. Go ahead.
I spoke to Miss Lewis, and she was under the impression that the town, because it's going to be virtual, that they would probably handle it. I mean, I'm sure she's open to giving her ideas in regards to it, but I'm not. I don't. I don't believe that she's probably as savvy as our town administration in computer research to that level, and so it's something good you might want to kind of brainstorm together with, but maybe actually during the event you might want to kind of take the lead on it, because that's it. So that's all I'd say. Thank you.
Commissioner Young?
Yeah, I know she's busy, and if she wanted to do something, maybe in advance of this one with Vice President Harris and Congressman Hoyer and Congressman Brown, that'd be great. But if not, I think this is a good thing to send out, and I know I'll be calling in to watch it. So at least we have that. So I don't have anything to add.
Commissioner Moon?
I have nothing to add. I think, I support any and all efforts. I don't have any specific thoughts to add.
Thanks. Commissioner Givens?
Yeah, perhaps we should consider one of the things that I always liked, and it may be just simple as putting up on your cable channel, and as a part of your our information cable TV channel, is just have historic things about Black people on there, right? Like, such and such invented this and such invented that, and this year, and have a little bit of history on it. Kind of give people some some things that maybe they're educate them as to some actual contributions that Blacks made and that they didn't actually know. So I think that's and it reaches a lot of people. It has the opportunity to reach a lot of people, I should say. Thank you. That's all.
Okay, thanks. Well, I agree with you guys. I think, if we can come up with something, that's fine. But if not, like Commissioner Givens said and Commissioner Young said, we do have some things that we can put up for people to enjoy. And we do have history. We made history this year, well, last year during the election, with Vice President Harris being the first African-American, and I believe she's Asian or Indian woman to be the Vice President of the United States. So I think there's a lot we can put out there to state, the contributions that African Americans have made to the United States. So I'm in agreement as well. Next on our list is the Explorer program. If there's no other comments. I think the chief is going to do the Explorer program, right, Ms. Barber?
He can. I'll just give a little preface. I guess there was some discussion about the Explorer program with Commissioner Givens about looking at the program holistically and what the program requirements are, what the guidelines are, how the funding works for the program and things like that. So I don't know if he wants to ask some questions about the Explorer program that he had and the chief and I can try and answer them, or, you know, really I did send out some information to you all that I got from the chief as far as the Explorer program. The post follows the national guidelines, and I did send out that link, I believe, to you all to have the opportunity to look at what the guidelines are for the Explorer program. It's not anything that's post by post. That is a national program that we follow their rules and regulations and guidelines and things like that.
Okay, I think Commissioner Givens, did you have a specific question you wanted to ask?
Yeah, so it wasn't a specific question I wanted to ask. Well, I would say this. Initially, the question came up about is when we saw, I saw this bill for some footwear, and then it was explained. So that makes sense, right? You know, we're getting donations, and those things cover that. So, but again, because there's a lack of knowledge in regard, so that posed a different set of questions, because there's a lack of informational knowledge that we have as commissioners, or the public even has as general, then I believe that we should create a set of guidelines and informational within our town. I get that they have national guidelines, I get that, but I'm sure, and I could be wrong, but from a legal perspective, I believe, that the attorney would probably support me on this in regards to, because here it is, you have people, right? You have that are within your command, right, under the town, but you don't really have any. You don't have any policies that address that particular body of people that are directly under your supervision. And so I think that that's always in our best interest to kind of have something along those lines. I'm open to seeing what that culminates to. I'm definitely absolutely in favor of the program, and but we also don't know what happens if they fall short of their donation funding. You know what I'm saying? So we want to have things in place to kind of talk about those things and avenues in which we can continue to support the program. So I'll take the remainder of the comments while I'm on mute. Thank you.
Yes, how you doing? This is Chief Ayers. First of all, thanks for helping out with the Explorer, sir, by giving us the information, give us the authority to move forward with it. We do have some funding right now. We have received at this point $1,500 worth of donations that came in already. We are working toward starting. Well, we already started having meetings right now to get the kids with their sizes for their uniforms and everything. We are a certified.
Tell them I got a TV.
We are a certified post now. We are under the Boy Scouts of America. We do have general orders, sir. So we do have general orders in reference to the Explorer Post to give us guidelines and structure in reference to what we do here at Carter City. I can make sure that you have a copy of that general orders. Tomorrow I can send that to you. In reference to, I guess, our mandate under Boy Scouts of America, all the advisors had to take a test and a course in reference to being around a youth. So all my police officers had to go through it, and we had one volunteer that's outside the agency that had to go through it. So we all certified right now to be around the youth, as well as our youth had to go through a registration process. Their parents had to sign a waiver, as well as obtain information in reference to what they be doing as explorers. So all that stuff has been done. We did send a copy of the link that shows you how thorough the Boy Scouts of America are in reference to it, because right now they've been sued a couple of times in the past, and so it's very strict to be advisor for any youth programs now. So we have been trained. We have an upcoming conference coming up in Ocean City on the 5th to the 7th. We're going to send Sergeant Hayes to that conference. So there's a lot of things that we're trying to do to make sure that these kids have a good experience. Today they came in with their T-shirts that we provided for them to take their pictures because for the sponsorship program. Each one of the sponsors will be receiving a brief profile of a kid that is sponsored for their uniforms as well as their registration fees. What's so expensive right now is uniforms and registration fees. Right now, to get one child through the program with registration and uniforms, it's about $200 to $250 per child. That's with uniforms, registration, but it doesn't cover the boots. The boots are separate. Right now, we're working with a vendor to try to get a cheaper price for the boots, because right now, a lot of these parents can't afford to even pay the registration for these kids. So this year, we asked for donations to pay for the uniforms, because right now it's not in our budget for Explorer program this year in our budget. But because we have a lot of people that want to help these youth succeed, we've been getting a lot of donations in.
Thanks, Chief. Commissioner Givens, did you have something else?
Yes. So, like, whenever you change the general orders or you add stuff to general orders, that's a policy. And policy has to be sent out to the commission. So that we're aware of what these policy changes or these new additions are. And I don't believe I was sent that information. No offense to you, but I want to make sure that we are educated in what these policies and procedures are. So in the event that we have some disagreement in that, the commission can speak to it, because ultimately the town, as the representatives, we're responsible for everybody who works here, everybody who participates here, because it comes under the auspice of town government. So of course I would like to see that, and so that if because it may be some things that I believe that, you know what, may better protect the town as well. And some things that, no offense to you, Chief, that you may not have considered. You're doing a lot of stuff, so you can't think of everything, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes it's better to have other eyes on it, so they can, lend informational to be more beneficial to the program. So, and I will put the caveat in here again, I believe personally, if the funding is not consistent, or if it's not, if there's things that the Explorer program needs, then I believe that these people are coming to serve the citizens of Cottage City, and that we should put some money towards that particular program. I understand that you and the previous chief did not ask for any money, and you had kind of said that you would go out and get it on your own, and that's fine. I don't want to stop you or discourage that, but I want to ensure that the money is not a problem to do some of the programs that we need to do to get these youth involved with our town. So I'll take the rest of my comments. I'll be on mute. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, sir. We're supposed to be putting together a packet for the commission, quite frankly, hopefully before the end of February. It's going to the March meeting with all the new general orders that you can go through, review, and approve. Cottage City, this is a rebirth of the Explorer program. Cottage City had a program 2 years ago that was run by, I guess, the previous chief as well as Officer Patanga. So y'all had a program there, which I was informed that y'all had general orders in reference to that program. I might be mistaken, but in the new general orders, we do have that policy. I can make sure that a copy of that policy gets to you tomorrow. It's already written up and scripted. It's the point where we were trying to give you pieces of the general orders, that we're doing right now for the next meeting in March. Due to the fact that general orders are kind of complex, it's a lot, but what we're trying to do is focus on the ones that we know for a fact that the commission is really looking and are really strict on, to make sure that it meets your approval. So we'll be putting that together and hopefully have it for you for the March meeting.
I had a question I wanted to raise. This is Commissioner Young.
Go ahead.
first of all, I agree with the issues that Commissioner Givens has raised. But it occurs to me, this may have already happened, I don't know, but we probably should have our lawyer look at issues relating to any liability questions or if there's any injuries. I just don't know what's been done in that respect. And I don't know what would happen if there were any injury to one of the Explorer members or to someone else that could be caused by them. But those types of issues probably should be looked at by the lawyer if he hasn't done that already, and come up with rules or possibly additions to the employee handbook that we're working on.
Yes, most of the guidelines is under the Boy Scouts of America because it's under their program. Yes, we do have some liability always because of the program being on site as well as part of the town. But like I said, I can forward all that information over to you tomorrow to show you all the liabilities and that the program has been covered under the JIT as well as Boy Scouts of America. So it's not a program that it started. It's been going on here in the town of Carter City before. The JIT already has information in reference to all Explorer posts through the whole county. So it's not something new, but I could bring all that stuff together and have that service to you from the JIT information as well as Boy Scouts of
Before
America
next week maybe is good enough. That's great. I mean, I just don't know if the lawyers ever looked at it to just make sure that, you know, he crossed all our T's and dotted all our I's. I don't know.
No problem. We can take care of that. And I can make sure that we have it for the next meeting on next Wednesday.
Thanks.
Commissioner Moon?
Just thank you, Chief, for doing this. I know that the kids are all very excited, and I hear Commissioner Givens' concerns. And I'm sure that we can work it out. Sounds like it's on its way there. Thank you.
Thanks. I don't have any additional comments. So we can go on to the next item, which would be the senior bus. Ms. Barber? You're on mute.
I'm sorry. We put that on the agenda at the request of Commissioner Givens, so we'll let him lead that discussion.
Commissioner Givens, you ready?
Yes. So, you know, in your absence, I was tasked to go through the bills and to approve the bills. And if you look at your text that I've sent all the commissioners in regards to the bill from Comar Manor for the senior bus program, I don't know if you guys take a moment while I'm talking to take a look at it. I want to give a little bit of history. I was a part of that program and the creation of that program to join Comar Manor, myself, along with Commissioner Phyllis Robinson and other commissioners, because I can't remember his name, and so we all supported the program, and I still do support the program to this day. I understand it's a considerable cost associated with the program, but now I'm looking at this bill, and this bill is $450. I think it's about $450, right? Something to that effect. And they say 3 people rode the bus. 3. I want you guys to, that is 100 and Mike, help me out here. What is that? You know, you're talking about $100 and something, $150 a person for a ride within a 5-mile radius. That's insane. Now, I understand Comar Manor has their expenses, and I know that it would be astronomically more if we did the bus program on our own. So that's not an avocation of what I'm getting at. But what I am getting at is maybe we should start looking at some type of other programs, more private public partnership programs that we could utilize our funding towards to help subsidize, because at $150 to go to a doctor within 3 miles and back is absolutely insane. I mean, that doesn't even mathematically make any sense. There are possibilities. We could create a voucher program in which those who opt to, and it's just an idea, who opt to utilize a transportation service, get so many a month, and we'll pay maybe up to $15, per person. That way, no one is over abusing the program, but yet they still get their services handled through the program, and so even if you just did the math on that, $450 at $15, 15 divided by 450, Mike, is, I don't even know what it is, but it's a considerable amount, a number of people that could have taken this trip. And so it's something I want the commissioners to look at, because, I mean, a lot of times we're just, we know a bill comes in and we pay it because we feel responsible to pay it. But we also have a responsibility to do checks and balances on the funding that we spend, to kind of look at these programs and see if they financially make any sense. And in this regard, unless Mike can enlighten me on something else other than the 3 people at $450, I mean, I'm not discounting what Comar Manor's expenses are. That's not what I'm trying to do. But I am saying that I don't think that $150 a person for 3 rides is beneficial to the town. It's at whole. So I'll listen to the other commissioners' comment and other staff. I'd like the staff to chime in as well in regards to this. Thank you. You can put me on mute.
Thank you.
This Chief Ayers, can I speak on that real quick?
Go ahead, Chief.
All right. I'm in agreement with him. I guess over the years, we have a lot of changes. Metro Access is being more available to people, as well as Uber and Lyft. A lot of things are changing because of the times and the accessibility of travel. So, you might have to rethink using the bus. Sometimes with that bus over there breaking down a lot, it causes more expense than the usage. So I agree with him in reference to look into better ways to service our community.
Okay, thanks, Chief. I see that Mr. Proctor put something in the chat in regards to rideshare programs that are available to municipalities. So, Ms. Barber, did you have anything you wanted to say before we go to the commissioners?
Yeah. So I just wanted to say that I did do some research back for the bills, and I know that it the price per ride doesn't make a difference, but our ridership did go way down because of COVID. On average, we would have 58 people using a bus a quarter, 42 people using a bus per quarter. So around, somewhere between 30 and 50 people using the bus every quarter. And I know that the cost is expensive, and the question was raised whether or not we would continue to be with the service because the buses are so old, and whether or not they would have to replace them because they are old, and that they had gotten them, I believe, on a grant. Would that be an expense that would be looming out there in the future? And so we were going to look at, the future of the program, and this can just, I guess, kind of escalate the staff taking a look at alternatives for our citizens. My only concern is that many of our senior citizens who use the service, or those who are not very mobile or not very tech savvy, to be able to use things like Uber and Lyft. And so that's the only caveat that I would add there.
Thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner Givens.
And Mike, while we're talking, Mike, can you run the numbers on, I don't know if Ms. Barber has them in front of her, run the numbers in regards to a quarter in which they had a number of ridership and our associated costs to give us per ride, so that we, like, this happened to be 3 people. I don't know if it goes down from there to maybe $75, but we need to kind of make sure that we all understand what we're facing here. In regards to the technology aspect, I agree with you, Miss Barber. And perhaps we may have to, for those who have some issues and need assistance in whatever type of program we kind of recreate, then the cost savings, we should be able to offer some type of assistance in that regard. It shouldn't be that many people, and I don't even know what other programs that are out there that possibly we could sign on to, and maybe we could subsidize. So if you guys can look into that. I only said Uber or Lyft because those are the most obvious, but if there's other programs and which that can take place, and then of course we'd like to know. If it's a matter of person calling up to the town hall and saying, hey, I need to go to the doctor, my name is such and such, and this is my address, and they verify who that person is, and they check that person. They've only gone in twice this month, and it's as simple as putting in for everybody's. I mean, I assume most people here have used Uber or Lyft, and it's really not that complicated. I'm not sure if how we do that well, there's a way to do it because I put people in Ubers before. So, but we could talk more about that once the information comes in. I'm curious to hear more ideas and moving forward with that. Mike, have you been able to come up with anything?
No, if Miss Barber gives me those ride counts again and what period they were for, I can look in QuickBooks and get those amounts for you.
Miss Barber? I don't think she hears us. Oh, she's looking on a computer. Oh, okay.
Yes, I'm looking at the computer. I apologize. I had just had to pull up a bill. So I pulled up the bill. I'm just trying to see the bill again. So I pulled up a bill from January to March of, I believe this is 2020. And there were 31 people who rode the bus at a cost of $39 roughly a trip.
It's still a lot. That's still a lot of money, but.
Yeah, so I mean, I can look at, I have all the invoices from the past year. I can give you what an average cost per trip is. And we can have I can provide that to you. And if you want to discuss that, and then we can look, as Mr. Proctor said, if there are rideshare services for municipalities, we can look into that.
Meanwhile, I'll go ahead and pay the bill because the bill came in, but I wanted to make sure I had a discussion with the commissioners, and still I want to hear from the other commissioners as well before I actually paid that bill.
Thank you, Commissioner Givens. Are there any other commissioners who want to comment on the senior bus program?
Yes, this is Commissioner Young. I'm hearing what everybody's saying, and obviously, while it's a nice idea, there have been some issues with it. I just wanted to remind everybody, we're supposed to be giving our priorities of the strategy, the 3 hot top priorities of the 60 strategies in the Port Town Sustainable Community Action Plan, and one of those has to do with the community bus. And one of the strategies is to conduct an outreach campaign to educate Port Town residents who can use the CALA bus to challenge the misconceptions about using it. I don't know what those would be, the misconceptions. And then to reevaluate converting the current on-call structure to a fixed circulator route, and to look at some other options. So, when we're filling out those, I think Consuela asked us to give our 5 top of the strategies of this thing that was talked about at the Port Towns meeting last week, which I forgot about. In any event, just be aware that all the port towns are looking at the issue. So we probably ought to be, Consuelo at least be in touch with the other port towns. Obviously, it's not operating at an optimum level when when we're not getting that much use out of it. So I agree with Demetrius. We need to look at it further, but we probably need to make sure we do that in communication with the other port towns, because it's sort of a port town project, and so we need to decide how we're going to operate within or to the other port towns on that. And if there's a better alternative, that would be great. That's all. Thank you.
Commissioner Moon, did you have a comment? I see you, Commissioner Gibbons.
No, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Gibbons, go ahead.
I wanted to make sure while it does say Port Towns bus, it's actually not the Port Towns bus, just so you'll know. It actually is Comar Manor's bus. And they're the ones who applied for the grant. And they saw that they couldn't afford to run the program without a lot more ridership. So they extended it to open it up to all the port towns, and Bladensburg, of course, being the biggest, they utilize it more. They have a huge senior population. And so most of their,
Commissioner Gibbons, we can't hear you anymore.
I want to say, I advocated for the program at the time. I thought it was a worthy program, and I still think it's a worthy program. I just think that now we need to kind of revisit the structure of that and how do we continue to provide services, and maybe it wouldn't be under that particular bus. I know that PG has a bus service that they call it Call a Bus. I know that the Metro Access, so I'm just saying we need to kind of maybe revisit some other programs. Also, just think about this, if you were to outsource it, right, to a private thing, like let's just say Uber, for example, and with a $15 voucher or whatever, people don't have to kind of be in that box in which they're somewhat, or maybe $20, because they got to get back, right? They don't have to necessarily be in that box in which they're in now under certain times and schedules, and which is one of the reasons why people may not participate as much here in town, because maybe their particular schedules don't coincide with what the bus route schedules are. And needless to say about people taking off or calling out sick for the bus or breaking down or whatever, that's even more of a reason to revisit. So thank you. I'll take that. I'll go back on mute.
Thank you. So just a quick comment. If you are not speaking, please mute yourself. We're experiencing some feedback. I agree with Commissioners Givens and Young. I think we do need to take another look at the bus program. Okay, next on our agenda is the employee handbook review. Ms. Barbara, I believe that's you.
Yes, ma'am. So last month, I gave out a copy of the employee handbook and asked you all to take a look at it and give me any feedback that you had on the handbook. I know that it's a bit disjointed. Commissioner Young was kind enough to point out that there was a large section of the handbook that was repeated twice. So that's what she sent out. She sent out the amended one in an email, I think earlier this week, to you all. She did give me some feedback, previously and then today, and I did make those changes. I did not send out a amended one because I wanted to see if there were some additional changes from any other commissioners that you wanted to send in to me. And then I would make those changes and send them back out for a final review, and hoping that maybe we could get the handbook passed next week at the town hall meeting. I know Commissioner Young had several questions about things that are still in the handbook. And so, you know, you all can have a discussion about that tonight and decide whether or not you want to, you know, keep reviewing it and maybe look toward an eye of March adoption for it after some of the questions have been answered and the changes have been made. If you all want to talk amongst yourselves offline about some issues that I think Commissioner Young is going to bring up.
Okay. Unfortunately, because of what happened in my situation, I didn't get a chance to look at it last month. So I will try to look at it this week and give you any comments that I may have.
Can I make a suggestion? This is Commissioner Young. Consuelo and I today went over, what she did was very helpful to me. After the duplicated section was taken out, she made me a paper copy actually, which is much easier for me because when you look back and forth between pages, it's hard to do when you have to screen up and down, but it's easier with paper. But that doesn't have all the colors and the references to who made the changes and so forth, more of a clean copy. And unless anyone objects, I think it would be real helpful if you could all get that, maybe with the changes that I've suggested. And I don't think we're going to be able to do it by next week. I would suggest that we aim for making some changes by next week if possible, but not finalize. It's going to take a lot of work to finalize it and just get even the outline and the numbering right. If people want me to go over not just the little punctuation and stuff like that, but any of the more substantive changes that I suggested, I'll be glad to do that. But I think you would find it easier to look at if you got a copy of, if we all got a copy of what Ms. Barber had given me, and then with the changes that she made today. It's just easier to read that way. What do you think, Consuela?
Yeah, I think that if you have trouble looking at documents online, then yeah, the paper copy is helpful. But it's probably helpful not to see the, I guess, footnotes of who proposed what changes and what version it came from, whether or not it was in the original 2016 handbook or if it was something that's proposed. All of the proposed changes are in capital letters, except for there's one page number 2, that's not really a proposed, that's something that was in there, it's just all in caps. But all of the proposed changes are in capital letters, and there are strike throughs from things that are being taken out. So it's fairly easy to read in a plain black and white copy that I can send you all. I have made the changes that Commissioner Young and I talked about today, and so whatever I sent you would include her changes in there, in the original document.
And those changes, just to clarify, those changes really consisted of 2 types of changes, I think, mainly. One is just minor, punctuation or wording, minor changes, and well, maybe 3. And then 2, deleting some parts that are maybe a little repetitive or unnecessary. And then 3, we found some old provisions that looked like they were maybe mistakes, or we couldn't understand why they were in there, which, we can go over if you want to, but there weren't any major changes other than, and the ones I listed, none of those were really major.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments from the commissioners on the handbook? Hearing no comments, we can move to the next item. I would like a hard copy, Miss Barbara, of the handbook. Okay, next is weather-related operations. So I believe this came up because of the recent snow event that we just had this past weekend. So Miss Barbara, did you want to address that one, or did you want Greg to address that one? How did you want to handle that one?
Well, I know that I had gotten some text messages from you all with the snow. Commissioner Givens has sent out some pictures, and I think that staff did not meet you all's expectations with regards to the initial reaction to the snow event. As I mentioned, and Greg can maybe talk to this, it was a it was a kind of a fast moving storm. It's kind of, I don't know if it snuck up on us or what really, but it was changing very quickly and we were trying to stay ahead of it, not anticipating that it would get as bad as it did so quickly. So not to make any excuses, certainly, but I know that we can endeavor to do better. We tried to regroup and make sure that we had the appropriate staffing and equipment out there after it was brought to our attentions. And so, if Greg wants to talk anything about, the initial reaction to the snow, he can do that. But we will endeavor to do better. And I know it happened last year. I think you all had mentioned that it happened last year. And it's just, this is my kind of first foray into dealing with snow. I dealt with hurricanes and I dealt with tropical storms in Georgia, and they were a big scale kind of operation. And so it was a little bit more complex, and not to say that that is different, but I had a little bit more staff. And I think it's difficult when you only have two staff to kind of plan how to roll out the reaction to the snow when it's a fast moving storm like this one was. So I don't know if Greg wants to talk any about the reaction to it or not.
Mr. Pinckney, did you want to chime in?
Sure, I can. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So I was out of town this weekend, and I came back on Sunday. I did have Mr. Silver and Mr. Reed might send me pictures of what the streets look like in the morning time. Mr. Silver came in. I told him we probably have to come in around 12 o'clock, between 12 and 1, let us know a little bit so we can have something to plow. When he came in, the streets were looking fine. He came in about 1 o'clock. He came in just to check on things to see what it looked like, because his town looked different from our town. And I came in probably an hour after him to check because I was already in the car coming this way. And the streets look fine. As Miss Barbara said, it covered the streets pretty quick because by the time I got home and changed my clothes and things of that nature, Miss Barbara called me and was asking me what was the plan. When I looked outside, the streets were covered. I came in about, I believe it was about 5 o'clock. Tried to plow. There was not enough to plow. Of course, we did not get any snow. We started to get just pretty much the winter mix, which is always the worst, especially when it doesn't come down real heavy, because all it does is put a sheet of ice down. So we did salt. Of course, the salt did not work initially because it was still icing and it just made it a sheet of ice. So the salt didn't really activate until after the storm stopped. Um, we came in early that morning to put some more salt down so that it can melt even more before everyone woke up and the streets can be passable. Um, that was pretty much how that day went on Sunday. Um, of course, we in our operation manual, we usually come out when it's about 2 inches, enough for us to plow. We usually come in and deploy our trucks and stuff and start the plowing. But of course, on this particular snow, it did not get 2 inches. It just got barely enough to cover the roads, made it look white. Made it look like it was a lot of snow out there, but it wasn't enough to really plow anything. And that we did plow, all it did was mat the rest of it down into like a sheet of ice. So every snow is different. We was expecting 5 to 8 inches. Of course, we didn't get that as we can see. So, according to how the snow goes, we pay attention to it. We pay attention to the weather. We communicate back with other municipalities such as Hyattsville on when they're going to start salting, when they're going to start giving out salt, things of that nature, so we can kind of build things around uh, their schedules and when they allow us in their yards and things of that nature. Again, I call folks that live on this side of town because my side of town can be different from this side of town, just to see if anything over here is different from what I'm seeing on my side of town. And that's pretty much how we handle our snow.
Okay, thank you. I do have a question. So what's the practice? Do you put the salt down before it snows or you put the salt down after it snows?
I only pre-treat our hills and alleys if it's like during rush hour or something like that. Pre-treating doesn't really work. It hasn't worked in this town. We've done it before. It hasn't worked. The snow's still gonna cover it up. Um, but if it's like during rush hour or something like that, I try to pre-treat our hills and stuff so that people can try to get home and have some type of salt down on the roads. Usually we use up our salt on the after portion. After it's stopped, we salt real heavy, real good to try to get the salt to melt down all the ice that's out on the street.
Okay, thank you.
And part of the reason for that is because salt works two ways. It melts and it can also help freeze. And sometimes there's just not enough traffic. During rush hour, we get a lot more traffic, but when it's not rush hour, we don't get a lot of traffic coming through, and we don't have those hot tires and the exhaust to help activate the salt. So it's almost like a waste of salt. We'll put the salt down and wind up plowing the salt up.
Okay. Are there any commissioners that had any comments in regards to the weather-related operations? Commissioner Givens, do you have your hand up?
Yeah,
Okay.
so no offense, but I disagree with the whole assessment. I personally disagree. I'm telling you for a fact, I was in the next town over in Bladensburg, and the side roads look better than our whole town. So whether I don't know who you the pictures or whatever this policy is, or you're trying to save us money, our responsibility is 4 things that we have to do in this town. 4, from my mantra, that the citizens require. They got to see the police so they feel protected. Don't raise their taxes too high so that they can afford to live here. When it snows, to make sure that we pick up the garbage is 3, and then 4, when it snows, to make sure that we are on top of it. I mean, period, because they have to go. Most people still got to go to work at some point, and so they have an expectation, and we have done well in years past. We've done well. but recently, I don't agree with this whole, we gotta wait till 2 inches come down and the streets wind up looking a mess. I know that Greg has mentioned before, it's because he doesn't have the nylon or the rubber guard on the plow. Well, if that's what you need to get, then you need to get it. You need to order, you need to ask Ms. Barber and talk to her. But the current situation, the way it's going, was a failure. And if you ask any of these citizens out here that were here in the town, they will tell you just that. It was a mess. And so excuses, the past is the past. And I want to make sure that this does not happen again. Because if this happens again, now it's no more, I'm already frustrated, but then it just heightens that level because I don't agree with the assessment. I think it was a failed assessment. That whole, if it's 2 inches you believe and you can't plow, you came in here at whatever time you came in and you plowed that wasn't 2 inches. And I know you plowed it because we saw you plow it. So which is it? Is it that it's got to be 2 inches or it doesn't have to be 2 inches? If you're saying that it doesn't, it makes no sense to pre-salt the town, but you pre-salt the hills because you said it doesn't make any sense because it doesn't work. But you just said you resalted the hills. I mean, and so why would you resalt the hills, pre-salt the hills if it's not working? So I'm not for, at this point, people can say what they want to say, excuse wise. I know what I saw in other towns, small towns too. And I know what I saw in Cottage City. And what I saw in Cottage City was a failure. And so I know that I don't think there's any commissioner that saw what happened that can say, oh, I think they did a great job. And if you all think you did a great job, I'm here to tell you as a commissioner and as a citizen, I live here, that you did not. And this is and you take it personal. I like everybody, but everybody gets paid. Everybody here gets paid to come in and do a job. And our expectation is that job to be done, because when it's not done, the citizens look at us as the town leaders to say, well, why wasn't this done? Why wasn't that done? And our excuse is, it can't be, well, the staff didn't think that it was necessary. They don't want to hear that. I mean, can you imagine if you were a citizen, someone tells you that as a resident who lives within the town? I think in moving forward, you need to contact, if we're going to make some assessments, then that assessments need to be made by the leadership of the town. So if it means that you got to contact the chair, whoever that person is, and the chair rides around and says, hey, you know what, work with the chair, but because ultimately this is our town, we live here. If someone had, I know I drove around the town, I was sliding, my truck was sliding, and I got all-wheel drive truck. I have an all-wheel drive truck. So if I'm sliding, I can imagine what these people with rear-wheel drive trucks, cars are doing, And so you might not agree that you should have come in or put salt down or what's it. Ultimately, if that's what the commission wants, no matter what the costs are, we're willing to pay for it because we have a responsibility to our residents. And then we can talk about, oh, it's going to rain at 11, but what happens from 8 o'clock in the morning all the way up until 11? The town looked a mess until the people came in. So if you came in, you looked at it and you didn't think you needed it and you went home, I'd say that's a mistake. So again, I think we all have to learn from our mistakes. It's when we don't learn from our mistakes is when failure continues. So I'll leave it at that. So I just hope that in the future that this problem doesn't continue to erupt. I know last year that it starts snowing like around 2 or 3 in the morning. And so I got up at 7 or 8. I don't think I saw a plow.
I'm not sure what snow you're referring to at 7 or 8. A plow wasn't out, so I can't speak on that.
Commissioner Givens, we can't hear you anymore.
I must mute him, or he's in a bad thing.
No, he's not muted. Looks like he's frozen. Commissioner Givens?
It just showed that he left. He must have dropped off. Maybe his phone died or something.
Yeah, he might have a bad connection. Are there any other comments from the commissioners?
I can't really speak to it because I frankly was inside all day and did not make any attempt to go anywhere. So I don't have anything to add.
Okay, Commissioner Moon.
I kind of also like, I didn't go out around, so I don't know what the streets were like from my front door. I mean, nothing looked like it was super dangerous out there to me. I am a fan of making efforts not to salt excessively, or when it's not necessary, or when it's just going to be washed into the waterways anyway, considering that it's really bad for our river and the ecosystems in there. But I mean, I heard Demetrius's concerns. I know he was out in the neighborhood more than me. It's not like we were dealing with, you know, horrendous blizzard. However, I know that there were some icy conditions. And, you know, I appreciated that the response was quick once the commissioners were expressing concern about it. It seemed like I saw Greg out there plowing very quickly right after that. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. My only concern was that the decision was made and it wasn't brought to our attention at all. That was my concern. And I understand that, you know, we're not trying to micromanage anyone, and you don't have to come back and tell us every little detail, but if the decision was made not to do anything, then I think we should have been made aware. As the leadership of the town, I think we should have known that. Because I just assumed that someone was going to come and plow or drop the salt or whatever needed to be done. Because when I looked out my window from where I live, I can see Bunker Hill Road. I can see, and I could see it was snow. It was a lot of snow. It looked like 2 inches or more to me. But again, I didn't go outside like Commissioner Young. I didn't go outside, but I could see from my window, there was quite a bit of snow on the ground and on the street. So I just figured eventually somebody was coming until, you know, it was brought to our attention that a decision was made not to do anything because they had called for rain later on in the, I guess, in the evening. But like Commissioner Givens said, in between that time, you know, while it's snowing and it hasn't rained yet, what are we doing? Are we just letting the snow continue to pile up only because we think it may rain? So, I mean, and I don't know if that's a good enough reason, because if you watch the weather report, yeah, they pretty much predicted we were supposed to get all this snow. So we should have had a plan or been prepared, not just basing it on the fact that it's going to rain later on. So I hear what Commissioner Givens is saying, and I agree with some of his comments. So it doesn't look like he's joined us. He hasn't rejoined us.
I'm back. I'm back.
You're back? You're back? Okay, did you?
I didn't
You
hear
didn't get
the
to finish.
Oh, where did I stop at?
You basically were saying that you hope that it didn't happen again, and that you considered it a fail, and that, you know, you felt like they you hope that they do better.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I'm not sure where my West name got paused at, but the bottom line is I was here. None of you guys except Wanda was here during Snowmageddon, and let me tell you something. DPW did an amazing job. They did an amazing job, but they didn't do it on their own. There were commissioners out there that were communicating and helping. And so what I'm saying is, if they need help, then we need to get other people involved to be able to give them the assistance they need. But we can't just, what I saw occur this weekend, I don't think there's any citizen in town that think they did a great job. And our responsibility as town leaders is to ensure that we have an efficient and cost-effective government. And that includes Department of Public Works, Public Safety, Administration, and you know what? I like Greg, I like the chief, I like Miss Barber, but my job is to hold you all at task when we have failures, so that we can and use it as constructive criticism so that we can continue to do better. Because after this weekend, there's no one that can tell me that that's the best that we can do, because I can't accept that. If that's the best that we can do, then we need to make some changes, clearly. And I have no qualms in saying that. I like everybody, but like everybody, like they say, what have you done for me lately? It's all about the town. It's not about you as an individual employee or me as an individual person. But I live in the town. I pay taxes here in the town. And all of the rest of our residents pay taxes here in the town. And let me say this. You think that I'm being tough now. You wait in 10 years when this whole commission is a whole new body of commission. And we all know, that the new body of commission will be more than likely the new people that are moving into the town. And I assure you that they're going to expect excellence, just like I expect. I don't think that we should have any less service than those people who live in Chevy Chase. And that comes down to police service. And I've been hawking that for years about community policing, how well they do up in Chevy Chase and so on and so forth. Yeah, we don't pay the same taxes. I get that. But everybody took a job and everybody's here to get paid. So if people can't understand that there's room for drastic improvement, then there's a breakdown in communication here, and we have to do better. We absolutely have to do better. So I'll leave it at that. And yeah, I'm sorry if I sound frustrated, because I am. I just felt like, you know what, I know we can do better. And I'll say this. I'm not sure if this was put in there. If it means that you got to that DPW has to get the blade that goes on the metal blade so that they can plow, flatter streets. I mean, the nylon blade or rubber blade or whatever. Then you need to talk to Ms. Barber and bring it to our attention so that we can go ahead and make those purchases to ensure that we can provide services off the ground. So, thank you.
I'll make one more comment. This is Commissioner Young. I'll have to say I do agree with Commissioner Givens and Commissioner Wheatley that it would be good to send out a text message so that all the commissioners know what's going on, so that when people call us or text us or whatever, communicate with us asking questions, we can answer their questions and share their concerns. And when we know that something's coming, oh, and by the way, Demetrius, I was here for Snowmageddon. I remember that. It was exciting, but definitely there were issues that the town had to deal with. But yeah, I agree with you both that it would be good to, just share information if we know something's coming, and then if we have a warning and there's snow there or whatever, so that everybody knows what's going on and can answer questions. So I'll just add that to what I said earlier. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Are there any more comments on the snow situation? Okay, hearing no further comments, I would just say, Ms. Barber, for future reference, maybe you and Greg can come up with a game plan or something and let us know what you guys plan to do for future reference so that we're aware. And as Commissioner Givens said, we do expect improvements in regards to the snow removal. Okay, next and the final thing on the agenda for tonight is the police general orders body worn cameras. I believe that's you, Chief. Chief, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, in reference to the general orders, we put in a comparison from the old general orders to the new general orders face to face for some of the major policies that we review constantly in the course of the year I've been here. and some of the things that the commission wants us to be shored up and make sure that we abide by. So it's kind of hard for you to go through all the general orders, but those ones that we made minor changes, or the ones that we converted over from your meetings to the new general orders, we're going to put that in comparisons and send that to you for your review, so we can move forward with the new general orders, hopefully by the 1st of April. In reference to the body-worn cameras, we want to send that policy early, because we like to go live with those policies probably mid-February or 1st of March to go live with our body-worn cameras. So we did send a copy of that, so you can review it, and hopefully we can vote on the policy for next week, next Wednesday's meeting.
Okay. Are there any questions for the chief? Commissioner Gibbons, did you have your hand up? Go ahead, go ahead. No, you didn't. Oh, okay, sorry. If there aren't any questions for the chief, I guess we can go ahead and adjourn, unless there's some second.
Yeah, Commissioner Givens, can you, Ms. Barber, can you get the policy for the snow emergency situation and to send it to the commission, please?
Yes,
Because
sir.
we need to review that clearly. So if that was the policy, then clearly we got to change it. Okay, and we're gonna, make some changes as a commission, to ensure that we have better response in regards to
Yes,
this.
sir.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other seconds tonight?
And I want to say this, Commissioner Yuri, while she's not on the call, she is very upset about this snow thing as well. So I just want to make sure that this is not, while I've been very outspoken in regards to it, it's because I have a certain expectation, because I know what has happened in the past. So I know it can be achieved. Just like I knew that we can achieve community policing, and all the other commissioners would always give the police department and the chiefs at the time a pass. But I'll say this, no longer in moving forward, that any future chief, because Air's not going to be here forever. That can get away with saying that they can't do X, Y, Z, or they don't do it and make an excuse for it. And so all of that, well, we're going to start community policing 3 months from now or in April when the weather breaks. No. This chief does community policing year round. And for me, that's the expectation of our police department, because I know that they can do it. But they got to have the leadership, and that leadership starts at the commission level. So our expectation has to be here so that our employees can rise to that and exceed that, And I will say the police department, it's going to be tough for any chief to come behind Ayers, because he set a bar that's here already that, I just think it gets tougher, but they can meet any future chief can meet our expectation. But we as a commission have to stand our ground and says, this is our town. We're paying you. We pay taxes. You might not like what you get paid or whatever. Then, I understand that. And maybe it's never enough, but you accepted the job, and this is the job. And we have an expectation. This is the expectation we expect. And I know commissioners don't usually like to create confrontation and all that. They usually kind of like to everybody gets no, we got to stop that. We got to set a bar and have our employees rise to it so that they know what the expectations are, and we can kind of remove ourselves. And so take it as constructive criticism, and people can be upset or mad because I criticize this and don't criticize that. I don't know everything. I'll tell you who knows everything that's going on is our employees. They know everything. We are the last to find out, most of the time. And then when we find out, it becomes, okay, we need to talk about that. We need to change this and change that. But our expectation is that's why we put these people in place. That's why we have a town manager now, because we saw it fit as a commission made that decision. While I was one of the persons who instituted the town manager idea along with the bell, and we were able to get it done. They've been talking about that for 5 years before. But our expectation is that you have a central person. Now you don't have a bunch of different personalities running around telling you what to do and getting miscommunication, you know. But that town manager has to make sure, because that at that point, everybody under that town manager has to be held accountable so that they can rise to that standard as well, you know. Because otherwise, if everybody did their job and they did great at it, we wouldn't need supervisors. We wouldn't need chiefs. We wouldn't need town managers. We wouldn't need those supervisory levels. But everybody doesn't necessarily. Sometimes people need help in managing those things. So that's what everyone is here for. And you know, I really like everybody. I think that we are, as a commission and as a town, we have done well these last couple of years. And I appreciate all the hard work that everyone's doing. But that hard work is a continuous process. It's not that, you know, we got to give you a pass when you fail. It's our job to point that out when you fail so that we don't continue to fail. Because when you fail as an employee, we all fail. We all fail as commissioners, as residents, you know, and doing the job of the people. So I hope that that we'll all continue to kind of like, you know, I don't hope I didn't piss too many people off, but I meant what I said. I absolutely meant everything that I said. And I hope that everyone will take that as a lesson learned or constructive criticism. And I'm unapologetic for it. And I'm going to continue to speak out for what's right and what's wrong. When we see that an employee is being wronged, we speak up. I know I try to speak up. I might not know everything, but I try to speak up. So that works the opposite way too. When the employees are doing wrong, we have to speak up, you know. So I just want to put that out there. And I still love you all, even the commissioners, believe it or not. While we disagree on policy issues, we all of us, every last one of us want the same thing, for our town to do better. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Givens. So before we adjourn, I see that we do have some residents on the meeting. So I'd like to open it up for public comments. Are there any public comments at this time? And I'll give you a few seconds to unmute yourself.
Hello, this is David Proctor from Hamlet Park Townhomes. Forgive the noise, but I just wanted to ask about the Explore program. I heard a little bit about it, but wanted to just, you know, plead to keep that program going. My son will definitly be a participating member. He loves seeing the police cars
in several years.
Yeah, keep an extra small uniform around. So thank you, and you know, we will definitely be supporting that. If there's fundraising and things that need to be done, you know, keep us in mind and make sure we know, and we'll do whatever we can to help keep that program alive. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Proctor. Are there any other members of the public that would like to speak at this time? I'll give you a few seconds to unmute. Hearing no other comments, I think we're just about ready to wrap up. I did want to say, Ms. Barbara, based on what Commissioner Givens said, hopefully you and Greg can come up with something and present it to us maybe before next week's meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great, thank you. Hearing no other comments and no seconds from the body, I think we are ready to adjourn. Is there a motion on the floor to adjourn?
Commissioner
I
Givens,
move to adjourn.
Commissioner Givens,
Oh.
I second.
Okay, so I believe that was Commissioner Young.
Yes.
to make the motion and Commissioner Givens the second. So we'll call for the vote. Ward 1,
Aye.
Ward 2,
Aye.
Ward 3, aye. Ward 4,
Commissioner Givens, aye.
thank
night.
you. At large is absent from tonight's meeting. We are now adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. Please be safe.
Thank you.
Good night.
You
Good
too.
night.
Thank you, everybody.